Hi, it's Rich Tehrani here in the TMC newsroom on location at Adtran headquarters here in Huntsville, Alabama. I'm speaking today with Tom Stanton, who is the chairman and CEO of the company. How are you?
I'm doing good, Rich. Thanks very much.
Well, thanks for being on our program today. Really appreciate that. Okay. So I wanted to start out by asking you a question regarding profitability and your company's many quarters of profitability. In fact, it's been every quarter?
Every quarter since we started shipping our first product.
So congratulations. How were you able to achieve that?
Well, if you look back, I think there's been two things that have been really the drivers there. One is we have a very strong historical focus on product cost. When you keep your product costs in line and you continue to evolve your products with that type of focus, you end up with very strong gross margins. So we typically have at or near the highest gross margins in our industry, and that's always a good place to start. The second thing is a little more intangible, but I think every bit is just as important, which is on the operating side. We have been able to keep the same spirit that you see in a lot of startup companies. So employees are empowered to make decisions, and we have found out that when you allow employees to make decisions, they tend to do the right things on the expense line. And I think those two things combined have really proven out over time.
Now, that's a pretty amazing statement you made, that you still have a startup culture with. We're here at your campus, which is not a small campus. You've got how many people?
On this campus, about 1,600.
Wow. And that's a significant number to be able to still have that culture.
We're very proud of it. I think we have won awards over the years on employee satisfaction, and just recently won an award here in this local area, and it's something that we're very, very proud of.
Well, that's great. Well, in terms of all of the people that you have, they're divided up into a few divisions. Could you tell us a little bit about those?
Sure. We have two divisions. We have the Carrier Networks division, which sells mainly infrastructure gear to larger carriers, and then we have the Enterprise division, which is focused on developing products for the SMB marketplace.
Okay, fantastic. And in terms of those two divisions, is there a difference between the sizes of those markets that they're playing in?
Well, fundamentally, the carrier market, in the spaces that we play in the carrier market, are billions of dollars in potential. And I would say the same thing is true with the enterprise focus. Our enterprise focus has been SMB, which is a multi-billion-dollar market. We have had a core target area of really tackling the routers, the switches, and the IP telephony piece of that market, and we think it has an awful lot of potential for us.
That's great. So you've got a interesting competitive, I guess, differentiator in your culture of innovation. I know that when we talk about the networking market, we see that there's some degree of commoditization with standards. So we talked a little bit earlier about how innovation has helped. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Here again, it's been a long history of innovation. As the company was first getting on its legs 20 some odd years ago, our innovation was focused mainly on cost reduction. And by that I mean, what does this widget cost you versus somebody else's widget? And the reason for that was we were focused on layer 1 products at the time, and very, very standards bound, from not only a line coding or getting the bits across, but also the form of the unit itself. So the only way to win market share, or probably the best way we saw to win market share, was to build a unit with similar functionality or slightly better functionality, but at a substantially lower cost point, which was typically done through ASIC designs, custom ASIC designs. That has since evolved over the last 6 to 7 years as we have started building much, much more complex systems to a real focus on total cost of ownership. And so we have recently come out with products that, for instance, allow the transition from a core TDM-based network to an Ethernet-based network in a substantial lower cost point than what competitors can do. and it allows you to not only come in at a low cost, but as your network evolves, forego many of the forklift upgrades that you have to do with some of the competitors. And that same concept has carried through all the way to the enterprise side, where we have combined IPT functionality, router functionality, switch functionality, which is typically 3 separate devices in an SMB. Combine that into one box or one unit that can be sold as a total solution at a much lower cost point initially, but over time, as you have to operate this and maintain this, having that one device is substantially cheaper than what you'll see from our competitors.
That's great. Now, we are in the midst of finding out what's going to happen with our nation's broadband stimulus plans. There are a lot of companies lobbying for money. There are a lot of ideas as to what's going to happen with broadband stimulus. And I'm curious, what is your company's perspective on the rollout of broadband stimulus funds?
Well, I'll start off by saying I am absolutely biased towards this, and that I am a big believer in broadband stimulus. Not only is it, I think, beneficial for the company, but I do think it's beneficial for the country. It is, no matter how you slice it or how you look at it, if you don't have broadband connectivity today, you're at a disadvantage from an education perspective, not only from in the traditional sense, but in maintaining competitiveness as you try to manage your career. So I think it's a fundamental piece, and just as fundamental as having paved roads to in your city. Having said that, we think we're positioned very well. We have been a supplier to many of the larger and smaller independent telcos throughout the U.S. Many of their customers are these rural, underserved, or unserved customers. We have a product set that has gained a significant amount of traction over the last year, so we're very hopeful on what the outcome of that will be.
Now, you've got a number of products. You've got an extremely diverse product line, which is impressive. I'm noticing also that a tremendous amount of new products that are coming out in the market are Ethernet enabled, and I'm noticing that you're also rolling out a number of Ethernet products, and I'm wondering, is that some sort of trend that we should keep an eye on?
Absolutely, and you're correct in what you're saying there. 90% of our product development today is now either Ethernet or IP focused. That's true both on the carrier side and on the enterprise side. We're a big believer that we are at the very early stage of a network transformation from traditional TDM and SONET-based networks to next-generation Ethernet packet-based networks. We're very early in that cycle. We happen to be positioned well from a product set perspective and from a customer relation perspective, so we're very optimistic about the future in this area.
Great. Now, in terms of your growth, I know you are very strong in North America and other parts of the world as well, and I'm curious, what are we going to see in terms of your future plans in different parts of the world?
Well, first of all, from a technology perspective, Ethernet is going to be our kind of driving mission. We believe that transformations of the nature that we're seeing start at this period of time are transformations that don't happen often. And whenever you see transformations like that, you really see an opening to accelerate the growth profile or the stature of your company, and we want to capitalize on that. That transformation is not just in the U.S. That transformation is in Europe. That transformation is happening in South America, Latin America, and in Asia. So what we are doing right now is looking for areas of opportunity where their network evolution coincides with where our product development plans are and what our current product offerings are. And there are a lot of those opportunities. So you'll see us move more aggressively outside of the U.S. than we have historically, because we really think the time is right.
That's great. Now, there's a big push right now with our current administration and just many in the population who are looking for a better environment and pushing green technologies, green ideologies, and I'm curious how that's affecting your business.
It's not affecting our business so much from a real bottom line perspective today, but it is affecting how we're doing business. We started a green initiative internal to our company nearly 3 years ago. And the thought process behind that was, number one, green is not going to go away. There's an awful lot of momentum behind that, and there's an awful lot of common sense behind it. And number two, it is a good thing for the environment, and it is a good thing from an employee perspective. I think it makes people feel better about what it is that they're doing. And number three, if you are going to move forward with a green initiative, it is much better to be at the front of the line than the back of the line.
Right.
So we embarked on that some number of quarters back, and we're moving forward to that, and it is at this point in time affecting not just the way that we run this facility and the way that we develop products, but it's also affecting the products that we ultimately bring to market.
That's great. Now, from a differentiation standpoint, what are some of the differences between your products?
Well, I had mentioned one before, which is a major focus on total cost of ownership, not just what that initial plug-in cost or what that initial chassis cost or system may be, but ultimately what does it cost you to maintain the product and operate the product over its total life cycle. And that includes not just the products and how they're designed and the functionality that's designed in them, but also things like the warranty. You'll see that we typically have by far the best warranties in any product area we have. Things like upgrades that other companies may charge for, we offer for free. There's just an overall envelope of trying to make the total cost of ownership less for the user. At the end of the day, we believe we are selling engineering innovation. That's what we do for a living. So, you know, we have to bring markets to bear, or products to bear, that ultimately will lead to a better experience for the end user, and that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, now we are in obviously a challenging environment in terms of the economy, and I'm wondering how that is affecting the businesses that you're running.
There was an impact in 2008, and I think it impacted us in the same kind of manner that it impacted other companies. We had some other things that were really going for us, though, which made 2008 actually in relative terms a pretty good year for us. All of our growth products grew in excess of 20%. That includes our NetVanta products on the enterprise side, our optical products, our broadband products. So we saw growth there, which we're able to offset some of the headwinds that we were seeing in the economy. And we're just hopeful, we're just focused on trying to maintain that growth going forward.
That's great. Now, in terms of differentiation from a customer benefit and value perspective, what are some of the reasons why customers in the enterprise or carrier space should buy from Adtran?
Well, one of the things that we bring, for instance, if we were to talk about the enterprise segment, one of the things that we bring to market is the leverage that we can get off of the carrier development. There are an awful lot of very complex, very time-intense features and functionality that we do on the carrier side that we're able to bring over to the enterprise side, in effect with that R&D already paid for. Maybe some customization, but we're able to bring an awful lot of product knowledge and R&D expense that happens on the carrier side and bring that into the SMB marketplace, where we think without that type of leverage, the SMB market space would not have that same type of functionality. One of the core missions that we have is to allow small and medium-sized business to have the same feature set, functions, security, all of the things that you see in the enterprise, the larger enterprise space, bring that to market in the SMB space. And our carrier development really helps us enable that.
That's great. So in the future, what can customers expect from your company?
A lot of the same thing. Like I said, we're going to be very Ethernet focused. You're going to see us continue to drive the feature and functionality that we derive from the carrier side into the small and medium-sized business. On the enterprise side of our business, we will stay focused on small and medium business and trying to drive the value that we bring home to the end user. On the carrier side, Ethernet transformation is something that we truly believe we're in the early stages of, and we want to be able to capitalize on what we're doing.
That's great. Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you for speaking with me today. This was great.